You like comics? You bet we do. How about artwork? Yeah, we fucking love that too. You like movies? Whether they are old or new. How about streaming? We watch that fucking shit, it's true. But it's comic book art that gets us all fired up for the all-time great. So let's buckle up. Hear me out, I'ma tell you how it all goes down on the Blacklist. Underground.
Welcome to the Blacklist Underground, brought to you by Ideal Organic CBD, starring our favorite artist, Zach Howard. Hey, Zach.
Voila! What's up?
Zach is creator of the hit series Wild Blue Yonder, as well as illustrator of The Cape, Hellboy, Judge Dredd, TMNT, and too many others to mention. I am your host, enthusiastic comic book aficionado, JC Washburn. Each episode, we choose a comics legend to ink a comic book panel of, and this week's giant who's getting blacklisted is none other than Jeff Johnson. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, guys.
Today we'll be focusing on his long and storied career, bursting on the scene like a fucking supernova with his run on Wonder Man. And going on to work for virtually every major publisher and becoming an enduring fan favorite among those who drink and those who draw. Zach, hit us up with the Patreon blacklisters this week.
All right, I'm going to do them out of order so nobody thinks we have favorites.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're going to start with... Excuse me, sir?
Don't show them on the screen.
Oh, I always forget that. So anyhow, I'm very professional, if you can tell, Jeff.
Yes.
Don't reveal their personal details.
Okay, here's their social security number first, then their name, their mother's address, and then their place of birth, right?
And the age they lost their virginity.
Yes.
Okay, got that. I'll do that number 2. So we'll burn through this real quick. Today, number 1 is Kurt Kroll, Son of Kroll. Yeah, that was a great movie. Steve McKay, Patrick McNerney, Robert Berman, Max Machado, Scott Buon, William DeGeest. He won that Buscema, by the way. He just posted about it today.
Oh, cool.
And then Anthony DiGelonardo, or Anthony Digi. He won the Nick Runge painting.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. How's that for a Patreon prize? And then Andrew Jackson Brown and my longtime friend, Philip Jean-Pierre. That's everyone.
Rock and roll.
Thank you, guys. You rock.
Sweet.
And so we're kind of doing corner boxes this week. And Jeff is old enough that he actually drew a corner box when they were a thing.
Times were legitimately different back in the day.
I know. I mean, I was talking to my mom. I said, like you couldn't do Three's Company as a TV show now.
Oh no! Right, with all the gay stuff and the
yeah.
What about All in the Family?
Oh man, that would never fly.
0% chance.
You can't do the Jeffersons anymore.
No effing way.
I don't even think you could do Buck Rogers. I mean, with all those lusty,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So it's so funny you mentioned Buck Rogers. A friend of mine who I'm doing, she's a fellow vet, and we're doing this stuff for the DoD for we're doing a graphic novel for the Navy.
Oh yeah.
Aaron Gray is a friend of hers.
Get out.
Yeah. So,
you mean like Silver Spoons, Aaron?
Yeah. And so, wasn't Aaron Gray? Wasn't she the one who was on Buck Rogers?
Yeah, it was Aaron Gray.
Those were her 2 big series, but she was obviously Colonel Deering on Buck Rogers.
Oh yeah, and she goes, and she had the gall. So my friend's like, "Oh yeah, do you know who Aaron Gray is?" I'm like, "Do I fucking know who Aaron Gray is?"
It's like if you've masturbated to somebody over 1,000 times, you know who they are.
Yeah, you know who Aaron Gray is. Exactly. I can close my eyes and picture her perfectly.
I know every inch of Aaron Gray.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
There's no problem with that.
Everybody our age does, man.
Exactly.
Actually, I liked the evil girl who was always after Buck. Remember, she wore like the headpiece.
Oh yeah.
And she had Tiger Man, and she used to make Tiger Man fight Buck Rogers. She used to make Buck fight Tiger Man.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna have to go back. What was the name of his weird little robot?
Tweaky,
right. I'm gonna have to go back and watch those just for some Aaron Gray time.
Oh, the Tweaky even had a girlfriend.
What?
There was a little gold robot who
I remember that.
He was a female version of Tweaky, And remember how Twiki went beady 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 beat?
I do.
So the girl goes booty booty booty.
What? God,
Yes.
no, that shit would not fly in
no.
Booty booty booty.
Oh,
that
man.
was her line.
Ah.
I don't know.
Aaron Gray, or both Buck Rogers and Aaron Gray used to do Wizard World all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Buck Rogers, he looked like, when I met him, he looked like the guy who ate Buck Rogers.
Oh, man. So, yeah, the reason Aaron Gray came up is my friend wants to start doing martial arts. And so apparently Aaron Gray teaches Tai Chi and is quite a badass.
Well, I would take that class.
You bet you're right. Yeah, 100%.
I'd let her kick my ass for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna light box it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I figure maybe I'll pencil it and then ink it, but I'm gonna light box it from here, and then and see, like, it's such a great drawing. Like Zach's, finishes on that Hulk drawing. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I'm just kind of gonna go over Zach's lines.
I mean,
it's so perfect.
It was so incestuous. I was like trying to think of something, and then I remembered all those Hulk drawings laying around. I said, wouldn't it be crazy if Jeff inked his own inker?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's going to be fun.
It's been done before.
Yeah, well, it's a good class for me since I am not the strongest inker and I need to learn.
Well, I think you're a good inker, but Zach is one of my favorite inkers. I love watching him ink everybody. It's awesome. He did Miller last week. It was really good.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, he's such a strong control over shadow, I think. Yeah. And that's something that my work. I'm much more of just an outline structure guy, and I've always been much more concerned about the underdrawing of things. That when it finally came time to put like any kind of characteristic style or lighting on something, I was just tired.
Yeah,
I just didn't have it in me.
You're like, hey, I'm done, baby. I did my part.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a couple of them actually. Whenever I had a chance and there was any opportunity at all, like say there was a different character going to be starring in the book or we're doing a new storyline, I pushed for a different corner box. So I did a few of them. Yeah,
cool. I was looking through the old covers today. It brought back so many. I remember when your Wonder Man came out, and it just blew me away, man. I mean, that was awesome.
Oh, thanks, man.
Was that that was Terry Austin ink on that cover, right?
Oh yeah. He Terry Austin. It's so funny because in hindsight, I can't imagine him looking any other way because he did such an amazing job on them.
Yeah,
but only a snot-nosed, not know any better kid. When Fabian asked me who I wanted to ink me, I said, "Well, hey, is Terry Austin available?"
Wow.
Like, the look on his face is like, I mean, I can ask. Like, why would you think that? But Terry Austin was available, and he did it, and it was amazing. And he inked all the covers.
Well, he inked a lot of newcomers. He inked Paul Smith's first job.
Leonardi.
Leonardi. Jeff Purves, who did Hulk for a while. He was not opposed to inking newcomers. He's
a real. I don't know if you guys ever met him or not, but he's just a really great guy. He's just really sweet and fun.
Never did.
Yeah.
You though, Jeff, you got to you're kind of ushered in during a storied time, at least for talent, was still popping around everybody. Literally everybody. A legacy from Silver Age to the image boom.
That's right.
Yeah, I was very lucky getting in because I think I don't know how it was for you, Zach, but getting in for me was still meant just going to shows and meeting people, right? Like when I was trying to break in, I know that I did letters and I did submissions and I sent them to the sample editors and all that stuff at every company I could get the addresses for, like snail mail. I don't know if anyone even remembers that, but I would draw characters on the envelopes in the hopes that might mean they didn't throw them away at first.
Smart though, man.
I don't know if it ever paid off or not because I never got any calls from those. But I did meet Fabian and other editors and other people at shows, and that's how I really broke in. And I can't imagine trying to do that now. It just seems impossible to actually make a human connection.
Yeah, I have a similar story. It just basically hit the road, man, and started building relationships from show to show to show, and eventually they like you and they see that you work hard, and somebody gives you a break.
Yep.
So I did something very similar. And two, when I graduated, I did excuse me, the same as you. I looked up. We just had the internet was just starting to pop, but nothing serious. So I looked up all the addresses of like every RPG manual gaming thing I could find, and I sent off like 30 mailed packages.
Right.
And like 2 responded and 1 hired me. So
excellent.
Yeah, but it's just interesting how times have changed. Kids get hired just by posting online and being part of a forum, etc.
I suppose it's a way to, maybe even an easier way to get eyes on your work than sending old letters and whatnot. But I don't know how I would have learned the craft had I not talked to artists and guys like Fabian and gotten the information firsthand about how to actually be a comic book artist.
I agree. And to your point, when you're in person and having a beer with them, if you're lucky, or just talking to them at their table in their environment, you start building relationships that you just can't do posting online, I think.
Yeah, totally.
So they both have advantages and disadvantages, but I'm better in person.
Yeah, me too. I can, if I had to just go by the quality of my writing in a letter, I would still be working at a movie theater.
Yeah, I'd just be doing butt shots on Instagram. Hire me.
Listen, there's money involved in that.
I know. By the way, OnlyFans, Zach Howard. What is it? At OnlyFans? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what year did you break in, Jeff? That you would consider being broken in?
I think so. My first gig was I did some stuff for free unintentionally for a couple of black and white independent companies. I did a Star Wars 3D comic. And then I did a Cull 3D comic because the company bought the rights, and 3D apparently was separate than black and white or color, right? So they were able to. So I did. So out there.
Wow, they broke that apart, didn't they?
They did. So I did those 2 jobs, and somewhere out there, there's 2 Jeff Johnson comics, and they're terrible. But you can get them with 3D glasses. That's how they came. And
that's pretty awesome, man.
And then my first real paying gig was I did a 10-page backup thing in Stalkers, which was a book that Fabian was editing when he became an editor, and they were getting ready to cancel it. So he gave me a shot to do a few pages. And then after that, I tried out for Wonder Man. He asked me if I wanted to try out for Wonder Man, and I did, and everyone seemed to like it. And so Wonder Man was my first real gig.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Super lucky.
That was so
Terry Austin inking you.
Yeah,
I mean, everything that Terry touched turned to gold at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember buying that off the shelf as a kid and being like, why? Who cares about Wonder Man? And then like, ooh, I care about Wonder Man. This is cool.
Yeah, dinosaur in the background, and
it's so true. It's like, because I loved Wonder Man from when I used to read the Avengers. I always thought he was a great character. I loved the relationship he had with the Beast.
Yeah.
I just always liked him as a guy, and as a philosophical kid who liked Zen and martial arts and a science and all that stuff. The idea of a superhero that went from energy to matter to energy back and forth, and had died a bunch of times and come back and had the questioning self doubt of who am I, what am I about, what is life, all this stuff. That stuff really resonated with me as a kid, and I thought, what an interesting character. And so when I got a chance to draw him, I just leaned into that, and
Cool.
and I think people really responded to it.
Yeah,
I would agree.
That was a huge hit. I grabbed that every month. And then did Terry just ink the first issue, or was it
Terry inked the first 3 issues and all the covers?
Right.
Yeah.
And then did Dan start inking it? I remember there was a couple in between there, I think.
We had I think we had a guy, I can't remember his name at the moment, do the first maybe issue 4 and 5.
Right.
And then Dan jumped on.
Yeah.
And then from then on, Dan stayed. We had a couple of fill-ins. We had some inkers help when I blew some deadlines. But then Dan inked the rest of the book.
It's so funny that you made your entree into that 3D craze. Do you remember there was for 5 minutes, there was a big 3D craze. Like Byrne did a 3D Batman story, I think.
Yep. I do remember that.
Jack Kirby, I think, created a 3D character or something.
Wow. He did. There is a character called 3D Man.
Right. I think it's 3D Man.
Yep.
By Kirby.
Yeah. And he's got the red and green outfit.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was we had those laying around the house. I mean, those are the 3D comics made it into my home.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just waiting for Pogs to come back. If so, I'm fucking set.
I did some, when Pogs were popular, I got paid to draw a bunch of Marvel characters on Pogs.
Oh, that's so awesome, man.
Yeah,
how ridiculous a craze.
All right, you guys are going to have to explain what a Pog is to me.
A Pog, for anyone who's under 50.
I'm close.
Is basically, I guess it's kind of like Jacks, where you bounce them.
Really?
Yeah, they used to be inside old milk bottle. They're like a little cardboard stopper in the cap.
Yeah. And
you would take them out and they'd have an image on them, and kids would play like some sort of, to Jeff's point, some sort of like Jack's game. And so they were collectibles. Well, somehow in 91 or some shit there, Jeff, 92, they came back, and suddenly you're just collecting Pogs with Wolverine drawn by Arthur Adams on it or some crap.
Yeah, totally. There's a huge amount of Pogs out there. They had everything on them. Yeah, I don't know why they became popular.
I just know I didn't play any game. I just collected them because all my favorite artists were doing them, right. Which is cool, which means I got a Jeff Johnson Pog. I'm going to have you sign it, dude, next con.
Oh, yeah, if you can find it. I mean, it was a weird time. I mean, the 90s and drawing comics was a trip, because comics paid what comics paid. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But there was all this ancillary work out there, like some toy design, some Pog work. I did the cover for a stockholders meeting, for Marvel, where I drew that was a great gig. I must have drawn 180 headshots, Kevin McGuire, top down style. And I drew, it wasn't the X-Men. Adam Hughes did the X-Men one. So it was a wraparound folder, like a Trapper Keeper. And then I did all the non-X-Men ones, and P. Craig Russell inked it.
Whoa. Now, did he just ink your part, or did he ink Hughes's part too?
Hughes was inked by either himself or Carl Story, maybe.
Yeah.
It's
another phenomenal inker.
Yeah, if you look up the Adam Hughes stockholder folder, I mean, you might be able to find it. It's the X-Men thing. It's gorgeous.
Cool. That makes sense. So Carl Story, wasn't he part of Gaijin?
I think so.
Yeah. So, sorry, I was just thinking out loud. How cool, man!
I just want to see Jeff Johnson inked by P. Craig Russell.
Yeah, no shit, right?
So, I got to search that out, baby.
It's glorious. I have a copy of it somewhere. It's beautiful. I did it oversized, so it was a good 3 pages big. on one big piece of paper. It's it had all the it had the X-Men, not the X-Men. It had the Fantastic Four, tons of Avengers, a bunch of villains. I threw in Wonder Man and some more obscure characters that I liked. But yeah,
cool, man.
I always considered P. Craig Russell almost sort of in the same category as Terry Austin, in the sense that his inking had a very technical line to it.
Yeah,
like P. Craig Russell could handle like Marshall Rogers.
Oh yeah,
in the same way that Terry Austin could handle Marshall Rogers.
Oh, interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's very astute. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be inked by so many great guys. The other, I did a cover for Green Lantern that had Jade, Kyle's girlfriend at the time, in the shower, and she was pulling the shower curtain over her, and the shower curtain had Green Lantern symbols on it. And so it was sort of a cutesy good girl thing, and they decided not to go with it. And we wound up getting a different cover that was inked by Terry. That was awesome. But that cover, which found its way, just wound up not being used, was inked by Kevin Nolan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
So how did you win this fortuitous ushering into comics here, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I guess perhaps I did some good things in a past life. That's the only thing that
yes, so.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a murderer's row of inkers over the years.
Holy shit!
I was going through the archives online. I didn't realize you'd been inked by Paul Neary.
What did Paul ink? What was it?
It looked like a period piece.
I know. That sounds super familiar. I cannot remember.
Let me grab it for you. But you also had Wyasek inked you.
Oh yeah, Bob was awesome. He did a bunch of Green Lantern stuff. Yeah,
he always has struck me as sort of a chameleon.
He's such a nice guy. He's such a professional, right? Like he just has such absolute control over his tool and his line. He knows exactly what he's doing and why.
Yeah.
And it's very original looking line too, his finished line. It stands alone.
It sort of changed, in his early years when he was inking like those early X-Men stories by Cockrum. He was kind of doing the garden variety, thick, brushy line stuff.
Heavy brush work, yeah.
Heavy brush. He Neary inked Ruse #6.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's right.
I'm looking at it right now. It actually looks a little bit like Hitch.
Yeah, that's part of that is because I was trying to do as close of a Mike Perkins, Butch Geis as I could swing, because I was the fill-in guy on that issue. Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's actually really nice, but it's like you kind of remind me of my friend Paul Smith in the sense that the inker has such a big influence on the final product.
Yeah,
because you've got you guys are all about structure, and it's really just really subtle. I mean, you guys are what you're doing with your line is a very subtle thing, and if the line if that line changes at all, it's not quite you,
right?
And but you've had some. I noticed you had Romeo Thangal inking you. I mean,
he inked some of my stuff on Green Lantern.
Yeah, how was that?
Well, I mean, I've been a fan of his since Teen Titans.
Right.
So it was an honor. I mean, it's one of those things where you draw your pages and you put all your time and your effort into telling the story and doing cool figure work and coming up with cool shots and whatever you can do. And then, to be perfectly honest, it's always an adventure to see what happens next.
Yeah.
And I've had my pencils described as and Zach will be able to tell you, deceptive, I think, because when I'm drawing stuff, a lot of times I'll put the structure in and I'll do, I'll draw stuff from the ground up, and I'm really mostly concerned about composition and angles of where a character is looking and how a sleeve, or an arm points and that kind of stuff.
Kind of like Gil Kane.
In a way, yeah. I mean, and so I leave a lot up to interpretation. Which is sometimes a pretty heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
I dig it when I ink you. I'm way more relaxed inking you than I'm inking myself.
That's great.
One thing, it's your elegance of form. It's like you're drawing form, not lines almost, though you're using lines compared to how I use lines. So your excuse me, your figure work mixed with your design, mixed with all that stuff, creates just such a beautiful template. It's like I can paint on top of it, and there's no possible way I can fuck up. Though I'm sure
Thanks,
I
man.
can.
I appreciate that. You inked that cool lion guy that looked amazing.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun, man. That one just called to me. I had to ink it.
That was great to see that character, that whole thing brought into such like just gorgeous finish. Like it just looked like such a cool drawing afterwards. And then the Hulk stuff that we did together, it was actually a really great education for me to see where a drawing can go.
Yeah.
Because you added so much light and weight and volume and texture that that wasn't in there. And it's so nice to see that. It was inspiring to be like, oh, okay, I guess I could really figure out how he's doing that, and maybe I could learn to add that stuff.
Oh, well, you be you, but one of the cool things about inking you is, like I said, you have so much structure, volume, design, the elegance of form that I just can, for once, it's like I let go and I just paint, and I'm like, my brain shuts off when I ink you. And it's like the only thing I can compare it to is like surfing. You just kind of go where the wave takes you.
That's awesome. That's the dream, right? To be able to just let the art happen.
Yeah, and I can't do that with myself. My butthole's so tight.
Yeah, I feel the
JC comments on it all the time. He's like, Zach, you have such a tight butthole.
I'm like, loosen up, pal. Loosen up.
Come on,
I'm trying to work here.
Relax. Just ease in.
Just let it happen.
Just let it happen. I feel the same way when I ink my stuff. Like I get so concerned. That's one of the reasons that I like inking. Not inking. It's not really considered inking, but like I like drawing with a ballpoint pen. Is that
interesting?
It's cheap. And I grew up poor, and so that's what I used when I was a kid to finish drawings was a ballpoint pen. And I really learned to like the flow of it, and even sort of the ugly unfinishedness of it, because it leaves, you can play with the line in a way. It has a softness or a sharpness depending on how much pressure you want to add. And there's a cheapness to it that I never feel too attached. So I never get stressed. I'm like, oh, it's just a ballpoint pen drawing. So I can experiment and play with it. And I never have to freak out about if it's a nice drawing or not.
That's an awesome exercise, man. I don't do things like that enough.
Ryan Otley. Have you seen Ryan Otley's ballpoint pen sketches that he does on airplanes and stuff? I
love those things. That guy is so good.
I've seen him do one live at a show way back in the day.
Oh yeah,
freak talent. Yeah,
yeah. His stuff. He was posting for a long time, just his sketchbook stuff, and like his gore, like his stuff blowing up, and his is so good. He's such a good artist.
Blood and guts, and like this nice Mormon guy drawing superheroes punching like through people's brains, and eyeballs are hitting the screen and stuff. It's great.
You got to blow off some steam somewhere.
Yeah,
I guess so.
He's so good at that stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
When Mignola was doing his quarantine sketchbook, Otley showed up and did his ballpoint routine on a couple of Mignola sketches.
Ooh, cool.
It was so cool and so different. And I tried to, I think I DM'd him or something. I was like, let me buy that. I want that. Or I can't remember. I tried to get a hold of him, but for some reason I couldn't. But I would have loved to have had one of those pieces. Those are just so cool.
I just got that
Invincible page you traded for, or what, I don't know, aliens or some crap. His pencils are ridiculous. I actually started inking it. I saw it the other day.
Excellent.
So I'm gonna have to take that back up and finish it. So
yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I know that times have changed, and and comics is different now, and it's so many pencilers just because of time and money and just the way the jobs work now, ink themselves.
Yeah.
And I have to say, is like I'm learning and I'm getting better at it, but I just really miss the days where I could pencil it and hand it off to someone who was better at that than me.
If only we did a Hulk book together, I'd do that for you, bro.
I know, if only.
So not to break any hearts out there, but how do they break it to you that they don't want to or they can't do the Hulk series that you guys propose?
Well, I mean, it makes sense that they have plans, right? I've pitched stuff before, and then you find out like, oh, I did a Shazam pitch a few years ago with a friend of mine, and it was a cool idea. It was kind of a fun, Shazam story that focused mostly on Billy. But we did it. We did the pitch. We did a bunch of art for it. And it turns out that that the editor who asked us to do the pitch didn't know that they had already had plans for a Shazam book. And so, they liked it and they're like, this is great. We would love to have you guys do something, but we can't do this because we already have this thing in the works. So I think that happens a lot. I think.
Yeah. I don't know. But they offered us something else. So we'll figure that out.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is the pitch, even if they didn't go for that, which would have been fun, the pitch itself was awesome. So it was a good. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very difficult to have a better calling card for what we can do as a team.
I agree. We brought the noise on that sucker, and so did Nelson on the colors.
Oh, yeah. The colors were amazing.
Yeah. Well,
he's really
good. Nelson, he's the best.
What is he coloring?
He finished up a legendary book. And he did a recent TMNT cover I did. I don't know which book he's drawing next, but then we'll just do covers and stuff. We started doing that again together.
Cool.
So, but I don't know which book he's working on. He bounces, or he's so fast like you. He can move through stuff, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good team. I mean, honestly, that's the part I like a lot about comics is just getting a cool band together.
Yeah, I like the camaraderie too, man. It's just it's the band of brothers and/or sisters. You just kind of in it together, and you make fun stuff, and it's hard, but when you're done, everybody feels accomplished.
And there's like, these pitches that get rejected have this long history of reappearing somewhere else as something different. Like totally. OMAC, the first 5 pages of OMAC were John Byrne's Shazam pitch.
Oh, really?
Something like that.
Oh, cool. That makes sense.
And even Craven's Last Hunt started out as a Batman story, I think, originally. DeMatteis.
Oh, wow.
That story went through a lot of changes, but was it was just that the story originally started as that kind of idea, or of course the famous Barry Windsor Smith,
Storm, right?
Yeah, the third issue, the third part of Life Death became something that he did independently through Fantagraphics.
Oh yeah.
That hardcover that was just ridiculous.
Unbelievably well drawn. Have you guys seen the reviews for the new Barry Windsor Smith book that he just put out, the Monsters book?
I haven't. That isn't that an old Hulk story that he was doing?
Yes. And there are a few pages in there where you can see, that it must have been drawn 20 years ago.
Wow.
But everybody who's read it basically says that, nobody else should expect to win any awards this year.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a genius.
I mean, can you believe it? I mean, he appears 32 years later.
Yeah.
With a 300-page graphic novel from Fantagraphics.
Oh man, I'm not surprised. Do you guys have his omnibuses or his opuses?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a freak of freaks, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what does it take to be a great artist? I think you have to have something different going on.
Yeah, something's got to be a little different up there.
Yeah.
You got to see things differently. You just do.
You just have
he took himself and his art form so seriously.
Yeah.
That anybody else who didn't take it seriously to him, he would just slag off on.
Yeah.
I mean, he busted on Steranko. He
Really?
busted on Buscema. I mean, anybody who he thought wasn't bringing their A game, he just would lay to waste in those old, comics interviews.
Wow.
Or Comics Journal interviews.
Oh, I've never read any of those. What did he have to say about Buscema?
Oh, dude, stand by. Hold on. I have some here.
Yeah, get ready for this. He pulls no punches there, Jeff.
How do you criticize Buscema?
Because Buscema, from the standpoint of Windsor Smith, was just going through the motions, and Buscema
he's just showing up.
Yeah,
Buscema.
Well, that's according to Barry.
Yeah,
but even if you read Buscema interviews, he's like, I'm here for the paycheck.
Yes.
I don't care about the characters, and I draw as many pages as I can.
He was pretty clear that the only character he really liked was Conan.
Right. And it showed.
Yeah, he brought the noise with Conan. As we did that on that episode we spoke about, it was just a whole nother level versus when we did his second run of Avengers. We did kind of a contrast. You can tell when somebody's into it.
Absolutely. And you can tell, especially when he was inking himself on some Conan, on those Savage Swords.
Oh yeah, when he did his graphic novel,
was
that was like that. And he colored the graphic novel himself too, which I actually now think was a mistake looking back, because it turns out he's not such a great colorist. But
bland.
These are real Buscema quotes. Okay, buckle up.
Or is it Barry Windsor Smith?
No, this is Buscema.
Oh, okay, go.
And then I'll find the Windsor Smith quotes. Actually, I have the Windsor Smith ones here too. But he says, I always had in the back of my mind that I was going to get out of comics. And after 48 years, I got out. Laughter. I never really was happy with comics. I think if I were paid enough that I could turn out a page or two every 2 or 3 days, maybe I would have been happy. But I always pushed turning out as many pages as I could in a day. Mm. Then he goes on to talk about Kirby. Says, Jack Kirby lived it. He breathed it. It was his life. Everything that he did was comics related. He was constantly thinking of plots, of characters. I had no interest in comics. The only interest I had was how much I can earn and how fast I can make it. At one time, I averaged 3 to 4 pages a day, which Kirby did too.
Wow. Yeah.
I knew artists who were always having financial problems. It's a common thing in this business. If you've got to have that discipline to get them up in the morning and turn out X amount of pages every day. So he admitted it. And when that quote got out there, people like Barry Windsor Smith were like, what?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, artistes, the studio. These are guys. Yeah. These are guys who took sequential artwork very seriously, cartooning very seriously. And Buscema did not. He just was a nuclear talent.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. Like, even his lackadaisical approach still had so much balls.
Yes. I mean, that's one of Windsor Smith's. Actually, here's a cool Windsor Smith quote on that. He brings up Steranko too, and he kind of takes a shot at Steranko, who I don't know if you followed him lately on Twitter, but he just cannot stop saying China virus. It's like
I don't, but I've heard.
He's having a few social issues, it appears. But anyways, go on.
Please, Jim, please. But this is kind of, oh wow, this is funny. He says, I agree. Perhaps if Steranko had continued to create comics instead of becoming a soft porn distributor, perhaps he'd have pulled away from the early influences and become a great in the field for real instead of just in his own head.
Wow.
This is kind of his biggest point. He says, but at least Jim offered something to us in the 60s, whereas Buscema's applications of Kirbyism was utterly vapid and empty. And then the interviewer goes on to say, I know I'm going on a bit, but the interviewer, Gary Groth, says, well, if Steranko's work displayed more ingenuity than Buscema's even then, but the way I see it, everything we find admirable about Steranko's work came from outside. Like, in other words, Steranko was bringing in outside influences where other guys weren't.
Yeah.
He says, whereas everything we love about Kirby came from inside of Kirby, and that's a significant difference. And that's really deep, but true.
Yes.
Yes, Steranko had that design, like commercial background, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah,
advertising, right?
It was almost like a Kubrick approach to storytelling. I mean, that famous love scene page that he did with in Shield. I think actually Golden homaged it later on in an X-Men issue or something like that.
Yeah, well, Golden's a really interesting combination of Kirby and Steranko in the regards of he is clearly operating from the inside,
yes,
out, but then also has such a wide knowledge of art that he's bringing in all kinds of outside influences.
Yeah, I mean, Golden's had sort of an interesting evolution style wise. I mean, he started out, I mean, he was sort of had the power of the sun when he, I mean, he was bending reality and drawing things so beautifully that, teenage boys and girls could look at his art and just admire it, and artists and everybody else. And he's kind of made a weird bend, at some point in the 90s where I think he was literally just mainlining Jack Kirby and everything became very angular. His early stuff was very sort of rounded and just pretty. And then it sort of became a little more crude later on. I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily. It just wasn't as pretty to look at.
More hatching, less tick marks. It's stylized, got a little more glossy. I think his blacks, he blended it. It was really interesting. I was told he did that a lot because Arthur Adams was kicking his butt at his own style.
Right.
But I don't know if that's a real story or not.
Oh, well, Arthur Adams, another giant. These guys,
freak of freaks, right?
Yeah. So one of the things I always wanted to be, but I never quite had it. That's something like I never really inspired people the way, or like there's something about everyone wanted to be an Arthur Adams clone,
right?
Or a Golden clone, or a Jim Lee clone, and I get it, right? Wanting to try and capture some of that lightning in a bottle makes total sense. And I just never felt I had the same kind of thing to offer. Like I always wondered how are those guys to do that? How do they become so unique that everybody wants
lightning
to be
in a bottle a little bit, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
And some are freaks and aren't known. Some are, there's way more talented. I mean, Barry Windsor Smith, I don't know how well his name would do nowadays in a young crowd. Nobody gives a shit that he's a Renaissance artist living amongst us.
Right.
So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. It's just shit.
Well, Arthur,
I
mean, art's kind of is almost like a Frazetta in the sense that everything, like every drawing he has, I mean, you could just look at his art all day. It's just so pretty. It doesn't matter what story he's drawing. I mean, you open up an Arthur Adams comic book, and no matter what is written in the word balloons, you're just kind of staring at how perfect it is.
Yes.
But what I'd say about Jeff's stuff is there's an elegance. So, and the form is there. So if you put the right type of inker on him, Jeff, you're as good as fucking anyone, when it comes to that stuff. So I guess that's what I was bringing up, my point about lightning in a bottle or a little bit of serendipity. Sometimes you're on the right book. Sometimes you have the correct writer. Sometimes a colorist just matches you and you explode.
Yeah.
And so on. As opposed to the greatest talent ever could be drawing backups of New Warriors with the worst inker on earth, and nobody knows him or her,
It is weird how success and happenstance can kind of go in hand, because I know that one of the I was really lucky to work on Wonder Man. Apart from really liking the character, we also hit at a time in the 90s when people were kind of up for giving his second string character a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was unique then. Like that was not. And then shortly after that, if it wasn't the X-Men or Spider-Man, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But I got in luckily right around the time when a lot of second string guys were kind of getting their shot.
I feel like I'm trying to remember. I think there was a Wonder Man like one shot that came out before your series.
Yeah.
Was that drawn by Bob Hall? I'm trying to remember.
Kerry Gamble.
Oh, Gamble drew that. Okay.
I think. Yeah. Yeah, I pulled that out.
Good for you. Wow.
Yeah, no lie there, Jeff. You went deep into the archive there.
I did. I used to love Kerry's stuff. He did.
Oh, me too.
Such a great run on Power Man and Iron Fist.
He's very Buscema. I mean, in that he spreads the character's legs as far as humanly possible without making it look totally possible.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to find I was looking up to buy some John Byrne artwork, and I didn't realize that Gamble had drawn one of the issues of John Byrne's Fantastic Four run.
Oh yeah,
and Byrne,
I remember that. Yeah.
But as a kid, I didn't notice the difference.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to go back and look at that.
It's very Byrne. It just looked like another Byrne issue.
Well, I mean, I know I tried to really match Butch Geiss's stuff when I did that Ruse issue. I wonder if Kerry was trying to match Byrne.
I wonder. I mean, I think Byrne went heavy on the inks, which at that time he was going heavy on the inks. Like when he inked Ditko, it looked very Byrne, or when he inked Sal Buscema, it looked very Byrne.
You could really tell in Sal there, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, we're talking, like, I miss sort of the it's kind of like, I miss the team-ups.
Yeah.
And I miss
something that doesn't exist without the team, right?
Yeah.
It's something else.
I miss the jazz of it almost. Like I'm not really much of a jazz guy, but everyone always talks about like, oh, this session with these guys playing and how it was different.
You follow this person and this person takes the lead at this moment. And everybody leans on their talent and kind of you come together and, for lack of a less lame word, a synergy.
Well, it's so funny. Like, I mean, you look back at those books. I mean, everybody was rushing to get them out. So, there's that famous Secret Wars issue that, Arthur Adams inked Zek on one page. And, that it comes up for auction every once in a while. And what a funky combination that is.
Right.
Art Adams inking Mike Zek. Or, I mean, look back at Christ on Infinite Earths had how many inkers?
Oh, so many.
I mean,
I loved Crisis had Jerry Ordway inking Perez, and I love that combination.
I do too.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
And they had Guy Ardano inked, I think, the first issue, and then Ordway sort of did the lion's share of it towards the end of the series, which I think was a big improvement. There was somebody in the middle, I can't remember who it was, but it's true. Sometimes the Beatles were better together than they were solo.
Yeah.
And people get so mad, in the Kirby, if you go into the Kirby room and say, look, Jack Kirby just looks better with Joe Sinnott inking him. I'm sorry.
You're going to have to live with that, right?
If you put those two guys, I love Jack Kirby in any way I can get him. But when he works with Sinnott, it's magic. And
it's true.
The best. It's the best comic book art can look. Is when that happens.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, I'm still a fan of the Royer stuff a lot.
Yeah,
but there's a smoothness to the Sinnott line.
Yes,
he seemed to harmonize with like the directional flow of Kirby. I thought too that other people didn't. Not that people couldn't find fun things and ink them well, but there's just some sort of magic there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like it's, I know that when people look at painters, and one of the ways you can tell if a painting is a fraud or not, or a fake or not, is the brush strokes, right? The directions of the strokes, how the line is applied. I think if Sinnott had the same sort of stroke, has the same sort of angle, and how he saw the flow of a drawing, if he saw it the same way, I think he must have seen it sort of the same way that Kirby did.
Yes.
Definitely the Venn diagram overlapped enough that magic was able to happen.
Yeah, totally.
I've worked with talented people, and you probably have way more than me, where it just doesn't work, man. It's still like oil and water styles. By the way, can I just stick a pin in things real quick? Is it weird you working over the what I did over your stuff? I mean, it's a little weird and esoteric, but I was curious how you're handling it.
It's super fun. I really like like I'm trying to figure out how brushy I want to make it, or how tight pen line I want to make it. So I'm warming up my brush hand, filling in some black to see if I can't start pulling some really cool lines.
Cool, man.
Jeff, in a weird way, it reminds me of when did you know the original X Factor #1 cover was inked by Simonson and then was light boxed by Rubinstein?
I did not.
Yeah. So somewhere there's a version of X Factor #1 that's just straight up Simonson, and somebody in editorial just wanted to soften it up.
What?
For whatever. Isn't that the weirdest thing?
I mean, Rubinstein's a great inker, but why would you want to soften Simonson? That's crazy.
It's
the
exactly
energy he brings, man. It's unparalleled.
It shouldn't be diluted. And there's so few guys who can ink Simonson.
Yeah.
I
mean, who does him really well? Terry Austin.
Love Terry Austin.
Who can ink almost anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only guy I didn't like Austin on was I'm going to try and say it, John Bogdanovi.
Oh, yeah.
Bog needs a brush.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A thick, heavy brush too.
I know that's
a guy Rubinstein could ink.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Although Rube uses a pen mostly.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, he's mostly a pen guy. I've met him at a few conventions over the years.
I would have assumed he was a brush guy.
Yeah, me too. No. I don't know how he's getting some of that stuff with a. Well, I don't know. If you saw it, you saw it.
He claims he's a pen guy.
Huh. Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, he inked Geis one time on Captain America, I think.
Oh, cool.
But you had mentioned Geis a couple of times from the Ruse issue. That was just a fill-in, you say?
Yeah. So when I got hired on at CrossGen, I got hired as the back at CrossGen days. You did 10 issues, and then you had 2 fill-in issues a year, right. And so the fill-in guy would take care of the fill-in issues for the various books. So his 10 issues would be fill-in issues, and so I got hired to do that, and I did 1 issue of Ruse. And then I was in the middle of working on 1 issue of, I can't remember the name of the book now. It was Steve Epting's book.
I remember. No, that's not Way the Rat or what was.
No, that was Jeff's.
Yeah, that was yours, Jeff.
Yeah. Shit. So I got hired. So Crux was the second issue that was Steve's book. And in the middle of that, they wanted to do a kung fu book that Chuck Dixon was writing, and so originally they wanted a guy. Who did they want for it? They wanted kind of a imagey, good girl guy, like lots of detail stuff. And I can't remember who they were looking at. He was a good artist, but his figure work was classic. It's sort of stiff, right? It was pin-up-y. And so then I did a pitch. I tried out for Way of the Rat. And then when Chuck and everyone saw it, they're like, well, obviously it should be Jeff. Not only does he know Kung Fu, he really loves this stuff. And so I got the book. And so I did not finish that Crux issue. Yeah, there's a half-drawn Crux issue out there somewhere.
Huh.
Crazy, man.
I've got a little inside baseball story for you. So they did speaking of Butch Geis, they did an anniversary issue of Doctor Strange. Maybe it was issue 400 or something.
Okay.
A couple of years ago. So they called up a bunch of the old school guys to come back and draw a half dozen pages or whatever of the issue. And I'm friends with Mark Waid, who was writing Doctor Strange at the time. And all of a sudden, Paul Smith comes out of retirement and shows this Doctor Strange page that he's drawn on his blog, which was super cool. And I was like, oh, this is great. So it's just he put the splash page up on his blog. He's like, watch out, this is coming out soon. So we're keeping an eye on the solicitations and waiting for the issue. And the issue finally comes out, and there's no Paul Smith. And so I emailed Wade and I said, "What happened to Paul Smith?" He's like, he declined. He just declined to draw it. I don't know, but we ended up doing it with Butch Geis. I was like, "Oh wow!" So I went. I said, "Could you send me the script?" So I read the script, Wade's script. It was a Marvel plot style script, and I checked out the Geis pages, and they're gorgeous. I mean, I like Geis in every phase of his career. Yeah. I loved him. I love Swords of the Swashbuckler.
Good stuff.
All the way up through Micronauts. Pretty much anything by Butch Geis, I find there's something in it to love. Even when he was doing Superman, I loved what he was doing on Superman all the way through. And even to this day, I'll pretty much buy any book that he draws.
Totally.
So he did any style. I don't care how he's drawing, but what a line he had though, especially in the days of Micronauts. I mean, he basically had the Terry Austin line down. He was gorgeous.
His storytelling is unbelievable.
So
he is such a good craftsman. One of the things that was great about CrossGen was that I got to watch a lot of these masters at work.
Yeah,
and watching Butch draw and watching him put together a page, and then studying. I mean, I've studied his work a ton, but trying to emulate it and to do the Ruse issue, I really had to do a deep dive on what is he doing and why is he doing it, and it was an education. Trying to do that fill-in issue. I learned more by doing that one fill-in issue than I did doing years of anything else.
Yeah, he's just awesome, man. So much natural energy to his drawing, and so he did a beautiful job on the story. And I had to ask Smitty, so I was talking to him on the phone. I said, "What was the deal with the Doctor Strange?" I said, "We were all waiting for that to come out, and nothing. We never got to see it." He was like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "I forgot to send the pages in. I drew the story, and then I just kind of spaced on it."
What?
Yeah. I'm like, "Get the hell out of here." He's like, "Yeah, no, seriously, I'll send it over to you." So he emails me, this 5 or 8 page story. I can't remember now. I think it might have been 5 pages. And he had drawn it, so that now I had the Geis version and the Paul Smith version.
Wow.
And I had the script. So I could read the Wade script, and then I got to see how Geis had executed it, and then I got to see how Smitty had executed it.
Wow.
And it was so different. So different.
That's fascinating. Was it revealing about who they might be as why did he pick this? As storytellers or people? Did they? Because I remember working on some of those early Marvel plots. They're pretty loose.
Yeah, it was a very loose plot. And I showed it to Steve Rude. I showed Smitty's stuff to Steve Rude in Boston, and he was just like, "Wow." He's like, "Smitty still got it." He said, "But the best comic book artists are the ones who have studied animation."
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I have to say that I got a lot better at everything when I spent the last. I mean, I've been back in doing comics and being freelance out of LA for about 6 years now. But before that, I had about 12 years, maybe more, in animation. Yes. I bounced around doing characters, backgrounds, storyboards, and I learned more by focusing on one thing. Because in comics, you do everything. Yeah. And you're kind of a jack of all trades. And my character designs were okay, but it wasn't until I had to do it for a living, day in and day out in animation, that I got much better at exaggeration and squatching and stretching and really kind of giving each character a different shape. And that's where I really learned it, was in animation.
You did, I believe I saw you did Superman storyboards, right?
I did. I worked on a bunch of the Batman family's Superman DVDs. And so I've done storyboards on Batman stuff, on some Wonder Woman stuff. for the DVDs, not the cartoon.
Okay. I remember you were doing like city shots of Superman flying through the city that blew me away. I wish I could say more specifics than that, but that's what I have rattling around in my skull right now is some of your epic Superman flying like low in through the city. You had the camera low. And that had been the first work I'd seen of yours in forever, man. So it was really fun to see that you existed still. I didn't know, people, it's weird in comics. People just disappear and you're like, well, they're either dead or found a cool job, right?
I think a lot of comics is hard. Like it's a really weird combination of skills and then there's the finding the work, which can be tricky. And honestly, there's not that many comic books being made at any given time.
No.
So I moved into animation after I got out of CrossGen and I loved it. It was so nice to have a steady paycheck and insurance and basically I loved working in the studio system. I love having other artists around to talk to. And I definitely love having the structure of a studio system and a deadline and a place to sit and a boss. It was very helpful for me. I'm not great at keeping track. I'm not apparently as easygoing as Paul Smith, but I do.
he's very easygoing.
I forgot to turn in my book. Oops.
It's like under a pile of magazines. Like there's just this gold just sitting there.
That's amazing. But I definitely lean that way. I definitely can get lost in things and forget stuff. And
was the animation stuff before or after CrossGen? I kind of lost the thread.
It was after. It was right after. After I left Florida, after CrossGen went under, I moved to LA, and then I got a gig doing backgrounds on Justice League Unlimited. Actually, Dave Johnson got me the job.
Oh,
awesome, man!
I met Dave Johnson while he was working there.
Oh yeah,
I got a tour of the animation studio from like one of the executives. It was like a friend's uncle or something.
Cool.
And so I met Dave Johnson when I was like a teenager.
Wow.
When he was working there.
Did you see where he sat, or you just meet him?
Oh, I was in the room with all the drawings and everything.
Oh, so I sat at the exact same place he did.
Yeah,
cool.
And they didn't need to change the nameplate or anything. Yeah. So I just took over the job, and he went on to design Ben 10.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah. Which too bad he doesn't collect Ben 10 paychecks.
Yeah.
He didn't get to retire off of that.
That's the sad nature of the beast, right?
Yeah, God, the people that do the hardest work often reap the fewest rewards, classically, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys read the Ed Brubaker's piece recently about how he got more for his he did a brief cameo in like Avengers. He made more from his cameo than he did for creating the Winter Soldier.
Interesting. Well, do you guys remember Lilo and Stitch, the Disney movie?
Yeah.
I cannot remember the director's name at the moment, but he made more for doing the voice of Stitch than he did for directing the film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Because he got actor. I mean, he gets residuals for that, and it's
awesome. And it went into television series spinoff, and you got syndication, and you just hammer checks, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, just a quick side note. I actually inked and drew some Justice League Unlimited, the comic book.
Oh, right on.
So I didn't even know you worked on that, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just doing backgrounds, and it was only for the last season. But then after that, I moved on to then I worked on Boondocks for a while, where I did character, which was a totally different kind of. I mean, doing characters is way different than doing backgrounds. There's so many more meetings. There's so many more people involved.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the layers get really thick the further you get along, right?
Yeah.
Or the initial generation too. That can be a pain in the butt where it's again and again and again and again. You got to keep trying until something sticks.
Well, one of the things that's nice about backgrounds is that as long as it looks like the thing it's supposed to look like, no one really has an opinion, and so you're mostly left alone.
Awesome.
But when you're drawing a character, everybody has an opinion, and so you have to deal with a lot of various notes from all different departments.
Yeah, I don't like how you do fingernails notes and things like that.
Well, we can get super specific. Like, yeah, fingernails for one, but say if you're drawing, let's just take Tweety Bird as an example. There, you have to get the eyelashes right.
Right.
There's a certain number of them, and they're drawn a certain way, and they have, if they're too long, it's obvious. I know that one of the hardest jobs I ever had was doing a Scooby-Doo movie, and drawing those characters was tricky.
Getting them right every time with the style sheet or matching the style sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I don't know how you do that. I go insane if I have to do that just a little bit. And maybe that's why you're such a master of form too, and can use it in ways I can't even dream of.
Definitely that training is super helpful to be specific about the combination of lines. Like, oh, these two lines mean this thing. It's a really interesting craft, being a character designer. My hat's off to everyone who does it. It's hard.
Yeah. It's and that's the great thing about art and storytelling, etc., is all the different devices and little pieces that go into creating successful media.
Yeah.
It's endless. It's a bottomless well of talent doing all sorts of different crazy things.
Well, that's why comics are so interesting. Like, back to the Smitty and Butch Geist thing, their interpretations of that story were so different. I mean, Smitty's was almost like an animated. It almost looked like an animation storyboard.
Interesting.
Whereas Geist's was pure comic book storytelling. I mean, of kind of like, Buscema or Neil Adams variety. And so the Smitty stuff really, you could almost read without any captions or word balloons. And the Geist stuff, the Geist stuff, he knew that there were going to be word balloons and transitions and things like that, and so drew it with that in mind. So it wasn't just a purely visual thing like Smitty's.
Right.
So, but of course, beautifully rendered, and they actually the colors were gorgeous on it too. I don't know who they hired to color it, but it was really nice. But he's easy to.
It's weird to see how different people. It's not unlike what is it? Eyewitness testimony is supposed to be super unreliable.
Yes.
So two different people taking a crack at the same story. It's almost like two different people witnessing the same event and getting it totally differently.
Well,
just a different perspective, different motivations in life. Everything's a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole Sal Buscema illustrated first issue of Secret Wars 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Wild.
Sal, and it's totally different from the Al Milgrom drawn one.
Wow. Why did Sal? Why didn't they use Sal? I mean, the Milgrom's great, but why did they not use it?
I think they had a different direction. They decided to go in a different direction. And Sal actually even drew a cover, which was then, the famous John Byrne cover for Secret Wars 2 with all of, there's a big question mark when the shadow is looming.
Yeah.
That's based on the Sal Buscema, that's a Sal drawing.
Trippy.
That just redrew.
Cool. Man. I'm great toning your Wonder Man, by the way.
Oh, this I gotta see.
Yeah, let's see that. Oh, nice.
Well, I don't know how much it's picking up, but I'll post the final. So what cool. I still don't know what I'm doing with these effing glasses, Jeff. That kind of like 90s reflection thing happening there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
dude, You want to see my first comic book? I'm not taking a shit on your work here, sir.
No. I'm just trying to. I'm not laughing so much at the drawing, just at like the '90s. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm laughing at like what. I mean, what was I thinking? I mean, it's just such a stretch. I know that those are the old John Byrne West Coast Avengers glasses. I think I stuck to those as much as possible. But
did you design that costume?
the first costume, no, that was around. I think John Byrne did it. I'm not sure who designed the black and red, the solid black and red one. I don't know if it was Byrne that did that or if it was someone else before him. And I inherited it and I made some modifications. But mostly I just think it's such an elegant costume. I try to stick with it.
Sometimes that simple is just the best, right?
Yeah, it's just very straightforward. It works great as a silhouette. The W is on there. I think there's a tendency, and I fell into this trap too, to make Wonder Man more complicated than he needs to be. Like the Christmas tree outfit.
Yes. How bizarre was that?
It's super weird. And then the outfit I came up with at the end of my run, I tried to combine all the elements of his different costumes into a new one and throw some 90s flair on it. I gave him some pouches and whatnot. But
awesome.
Yeah. No, I think that costume is just a great costume. It's just a real super straightforward design, and I think it really works. But yeah, the glasses I think those are Byrne.
That looks like Byrne glasses anyways, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
I just loved for your Hulk drawing that you're working on there. I made it issue 316.
Yeah. Isn't that the one where Wolverine shows up?
No, that's 181. Oh. This is the one where the Hulk fights Namor.
Oh, yeah.
Samson, Wonder Man, and Iron Man.
Excellent.
And so it might just be the greatest comic book of the 80s.
Yeah, that's amazing.
As I told you, I know I have it. I just don't remember it specifically. I'm really getting old, man.
There's a B story about like Betty is in the hospital and the She-Hulk has to go. Don't worry about the B story. The A story, is all about the Avengers trying to beat up the Hulk, and all they end up doing is destroying the city. But it's got some great Wonder Man moments in it, like the Hulk stomps on Wonder Man's face. And Wonder Man says, "Gee, I wonder what the poor people are doing for fun this time of year." Like all these weird, like as a kid, I was like, I don't even understand that joke, but I'm sure
who wrote that one.
I'm sure John Byrne thinks it's funny.
Byrne wrote that?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That'd be the era of Byrne, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Byrne drew maybe a half dozen issues of Hulk.
Oh right, that's that run that he did with the is that the run where that's the all splash page issues or is that later?
He did one that was all splash pages that appeared in Marvel Fanfare.
Is that the one with the wolf or whatever?
It's like him. He's hallucinating. Like some old man's got like this potion.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that is the one with the wolf, but maybe I'm combining them. Apologies if so.
Then he did it. Wyasek inked his first issue of Hulk, and the Hulk is like finds a deer in the out in the wilderness and like beats up the deer maybe or something. I don't remember. But anyways, that I think that's kind of.
I didn't know he's into deer violence, man. I'm fucking out.
Yeah,
like to cancel that motherfucker.
Oh yeah,
Byrne was so prolific. I mean, he drew so many comic books. But if you look back now, he's constantly got women like grabbing guys' crotches, like
what?
It's just this recurring theme, and like he did it in West Coast Avengers, he did it in X-Men. He had this weird thing where like villainous women were grabbing heroes by the crotch.
We all got something, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff in Namor.
Right.
Yeah, Namor got weird, man.
It did. It gets super weird.
I still have trouble looking at it.
Well, and his son was like in your class, Jeff. Kieran, his stepson.
Kieran. Oh yeah, Kieran. I know Kieran.
He's so good.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, Kieran's a friend of mine. We both lived in the Bay Area.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Kieran's a powerhouse talent. That guy
He
can draw
really is.
anything.
Beautiful work.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I think they're gonna make his Captain America character into something in the Winter Soldier.
Oh, cool.
The U.S. agent, I think he created.
Is that Kieran? I'll have to double check on that. That's awesome. I hope so.
I mean, I know he was drawing those issues, and I never was a big. I was not a huge Milgram fan as a kid. I like him. I like his work better now. But even with Milgram inking him on Captain America, I still bought it. And then I think it was Danny Buldani, or I don't know.
Bullnati or whatever, however you pronounce it.
And I like that better. I like that a little bit better on Captain America.
Yeah.
And then Kieran came back and did a couple of Avengers. Did Avengers for maybe 6 issues, and then he sort of vanished again.
He did have an Avengers run, and he had he did some X-Men stuff that was really great.
Yes, that's right. Classic X-Men.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Terry Austin even inked that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Kieran is amazing. I think Rick Remender inked him on some stuff. That was a really great era too.
That's right. Yeah. And he did some work at Legend with his his stepfather, with Byrne. He created Sentinel of Liberty.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Or
yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So Byrne was writing those and he was drawing it, I guess.
It's so weird. Just the personalities involved in our little industry.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if Byrne had been his father, I'd say they were one of the better father-son duos, in the industry. Although the Ramirez, I guess, have got to be the ultimate legacy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that family when it comes to not only just quality of art but quantity.
Oh, big time. I mean, actually, John Romita just announced he's coming back to Marvel.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
that's going to be cool.
Wonder who's going to ink him. I mean, because he's had Klaus with him over at DC for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Zach, you would be great on JR.
I'd like to try him out someday. I'd have to practice pulling that long brush line, though. That like runs out of ink. I just need a couple days of fooling around with that, and I think I could hit him. I'd like to do his Iron Man though. That would make me tumescent. I always loved his Iron Man.
Oh yeah, that when Bob Layton was inking him.
Yes.
Those are classics.
The energy on the pages, man. It's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
They were a great team.
I loved, of course, the Layton stuff, but Layton made everybody look good.
Mm-hmm.
But the Romita Jr. did a second run on Iron Man when Byrne was writing it, and Wyasek inked it.
Oh yeah, that was good stuff.
Wild.
That was insane. I mean, it was just so raw. Yeah,
Bob's a great inker.
He really is.
It's one of those things that there's. Once again, I'm sad that pencilers now have to do like the people shoot. I get, it's whatever it is. It is what it is. That's the medium. But shooting, I just don't think shooting from pencils ever looks as good as having someone ink it.
Right.
I agree. It's almost no comparison ever. Occasionally something pops through that's like, wow, but that's the exception. The rare unicorn, I would say.
Yeah. And then so many guys, like even when a guy even inks himself and he's great, I just think that it's time taken away from, because doing a good ink line, you really have to settle into it. You're right. You have to pull it. You have to breathe into it. It slows you down, unless you're Dan, of course. And then you
just like lightning fast. Holy cow!
Yeah. Then you just ink like a samurai, and it's everything you do is gorgeous.
He's as good as it gets, man.
He really is. Yeah, he really is. He's such confidence when he draws. It's amazing. It's impressive to watch. It really is like watching a samurai fight.
It's he's truly unique to himself too, which is the amazing thing. Is he's not only just cranking out stuff, it's the draftsmanship, the execution, plus the live frenetic energy you get from just cranking it out like that, and knowing what you're doing. He right now, more than anyone I see, is putting it all together.
Yeah.
And more than anyone.
Totally. Yeah. I was just telling him that the other day.
Well, we're in agreement.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Zach, before I forget, I wanted to thank you for the CBD oil that you sent when my dog was going through cancer.
You're welcome, sir. I'll let you continue.
I know we talked about it, and I thanked you over the phone, but like, it made such a difference. Those last, I attribute the oil to her lasting 6 months instead of 8 weeks.
Truly honored, man. I'm so happy to hear. I mean, it's always so unfortunate. I've lost dogs to cancer, and one of my favorite dogs ever too. So how much pain they go through, and eating problems and sleeping problems. I really love how the CBD can give them a little bit of an appetite, a little bit of rest. And it's amazing how you can kind of get your dog back for a little bit, right?
Totally. Because she was having a real hard time keeping food down, and she had zero appetite. And I could tell that she was aching, and the oil helped her eat, and it kept her weight on, and it solved all, like, she was having problems with nausea, and those went away. And it was amazing. It was really a gift. It was I would describe it as almost a miracle. It was so good.
Honored to hear that that we could bring anything like that to you.
Yeah, thanks to you and your wife for putting that together and making sure I got it, and that having it available. It was great. It was really amazing.
Awesome. Well, for any future pups, you always we got our new formula, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So even a little bit better for cancer dogs. It has more CBG and CBN in it. So which are peripheral little phytocannabinoids that help with one, anxiety, but two, real pain management. So
excellent
is the big one. But yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, Jeff. The show is actually sponsored by Ideal Organics.
It is really? Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, as a testimonial, it works. It is amazing. I can tell you firsthand.
Yeah. When Jeff, when JC takes it, he's almost tolerable. So he snorts it though, right?
I snorted. I've been bathing in it. I had a CBD enema yesterday. It was fantastic.
That's why you're in a good mood, right?
Yeah. It sounds comforting.
It'll cure COVID.
Oh God. FDA or USDA does not cure COVID. Ideal Organics products.
Right.
Hey, Jeff, I'm going to put some splatter on your Wonder Man here.
Please do. How do you do that? What's your approach for that?
So it's not picking it up great, but you can kind of see how I put some gray tones on there.
Nice.
Looks better in person. I'm going to use a little bit of nib, and then I'll come back and put some dusty toothbrush splatter over it.
Cool.
First, find my nib. Aha. How do you do it, Jeff?
I've never actually done it.
Wow. It's kind of interesting how we've done a lot of the same industries, but we handle things so very differently in our career styles, our application, production. It just shows the breadth of this medium, right?
Yeah. I mean, I am learning how to ink now because I'm working on a book at Image where I'm inking it. And I'm learning, and I'm trying to bring something new to the page when I ink it, as opposed to just letting it be, going over my own lines. I'm trying to add something, and so I'm learning to use the tools. But I have yet to do any splatter, and I'm actually I wanted to watch you do it because I don't know how I would even approach it.
Well, right now for my shotgun blasts, I'm using an old nib. So once a nib kind of loses its pop, you can use it to create splatter. You can use a fingernail, which is really precise, but it tears up your nail. Or you can use a straight edge, a credit card.
Okay.
And you can create these directional kind of like shotgun blast type things. They're really localized.
Okay.
So we'll bring that up close.
Gotcha.
You can see how there's that splatter coming off the glasses now.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I just want that in a few spots, maybe the metal here. Yeesh. See, that did too much. We'll do some hair highlights up here. And then I'm probably not going to do the dusty splatter with the toothbrush, but everybody knows how to do that. You just get your toothbrush wet and scritchy it. Yep, you do a flitchy scritch. I think it's the technical term. Yeah, I think that's right. I learned that in art history.
Yeah, no, I mean, Da Vinci invented it.
Yeah, it was Da Vinci did it the best. No one's unrivaled. So now we're gonna do a little black. So what I also love is you're just so comfortable with me, like going over your stuff and just making decisions. It's so interesting how zen you are about that. You're just such an amazing personality for comic book work because of your ability to accept the process. Again, I kind of see you as a Zen master in a lot of ways compared to how I am, or at least since I've known you, because I'm tense and always trying to get things perfect, and you trust your ability to be able to create form and design to tell a story and make it interesting. And it's really comforting for me to work over that, because it's like my butthole unclenches and I can just be an artist again.
That's
just an artist for but a moment.
Enema?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's nice, like once it leaves my table, it's not mine anymore. I really believe like like that process of an inker and a penciler, it's a team, right? And like once I'm done, my job is over.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say that.
Right. Yeah.
You know Mark Irwin, man. That poor guy, Inkman Aliens. I'm surprised he still talks to me.
He's a great inker too. Did he just not do it the way you thought it should be?
No, I'm just fucking insane, Jeff. And if there's a hair out of place, I'm like, why the fuck is there hair out of place?
Oh, well.
Why would you possibly ink a hair out of place? And then I don't sleep for 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my share of breakdowns, but I think I've working in animation certainly helped. Like having your name not even really be on it, I think is an interesting experiment. And having, even when your name is on it, having it fly by at the end. So it's
just zip along with 200 other people.
Yeah, it's an interesting, the animation. I would suggest that anyone who really wants to have a long career in comics take some time and do some animation, because it's such a different world, and comics can be lonely. It's nice to have.
It's about as lonely as it gets, right?
Yeah, but you've worked at CrossGen and in an animation, which is kind of crazy. I mean, CrossGen was a creature that had never existed until you were part of it. I mean, there was no art studio for, where the writers and the artists were all under the same roof.
No, it was total. I mean, I guess the old Marvel bullpen was the closest.
Yeah. Or continuity, yes.
But even then, I think that was mostly still artists were working as freelancers away from, like, they weren't really in the office that much.
Yeah.
No, I thought that system really worked, and I know that a lot of other guys liked it too. In the end, I think it failed, not because of the system, just because of other things. And so, but I think the system gets blamed. Like, so I don't know if there's ever going to be another group studio like that where all the artists are together. And I think that's a bit of a shame.
When I was breaking in, I lived in Melbourne, across the other side of the state, just surfing. And I was desperately trying to get, is there something called like Route 66 or 6 or something like it was, God, what was it called?
You're one that goes up the middle of the state?
I believe so. I was trying out for that, and then the company collapsed. I was just making the jump from RPG manuals, and I was like, wow, this place is just right over there. I was going to come meet a friend that was inking some stuff. And then the company took a shit, sadly.
Yes. It was
like oft great things do, right?
Yeah, it was an interesting time, and I made some great friends there. But it was a challenge.
Well, it's all new things are, much less an old school system, a refined system of proven comic books can be hard enough to navigate, right?
Yeah.
Much less a new company with a new system and competing with the industry's biggest, etc.
Yeah, it was a really, and also having it be in Florida was a really trippy. It was a trippy place.
Where
As you
know,
Florida,
you guys?
Tampa,
we were in
right?
Tampa. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa's weird.
Yeah.
Tampa's Florida's weird. I mean, I don't want to insult anyone.
It's not even like America. It's like everybody just like the southern states got rid of their worst people, dropped them off in the panhandle, and then you got scientists launching rockets. You got Orlando, which it just all these amusement parks. It just doesn't even feel like any other place on earth, man.
It is weird.
It's so weird. The weather is
alligators everywhere.
Yeah, dogs getting chomped and rockets taking off. It's great,
the place is it is the wild east. It's such a strange place. I know I live on.
I'm sorry. Was Dixon in there with you? Like, was the writer over your shoulder, or like how did that work?
Oh yeah, no. Chuck would write. Chuck wrote the first issue, and I drew it, and he pretty much wrote the first issue, not knowing who was going to draw it. And then once I was on board, he was an amazing collaborator. He had, and he would write full script. And
his scripts are tight. I did a Richard Dragon issue with him at where was that? DC Comics. He writes really tight, if I remember correctly.
His stuff is great. But he also is a really great collaborator. And I've done kung fu for most of my life in some way or another. And so when it came to drawing the fight scenes, we would talk about them, and he would in the script have the beginning of the fight scene and what had to happen, narratively speaking, and then where the fight scene would end, and then he just let me go to town. He just left it up to me. So it was great. It was
very comforting way to work, right?
Yeah. So, and then he would write cool shit. It was a very fun book to do.
And Perez was there too, correct?
Perez, he didn't have a desk there, but he came by occasionally. I saw him a few times, and I got to meet him.
So it was you guys. I'm thinking, was Jimmy Chung there?
Yeah, it was a murderer's row, dude. There was.
I used to visit you guys at the MegaCon, which maybe I even bumped into you there and didn't even know it was you. Did you ever go to MegaCon?
I don't think I ever went to one. I mean, maybe
you're so close.
Yeah.
But I ran into Butch a lot. He was super nice. All the guys are so nice and seem so happy.
Yeah. They're such an amazing group of people. Like so Bart Sears was there.
Sears was there? What was he drawing?
He was working on The Path, and he was sort of the art director.
Yeah, that's how I met him, because I did a portfolio review with Bart, which was intimidating as all fuck.
Oh, that guy is amazing. Butch was there. Steve Epting was there. Jimmy Chung was there. Who else was there? Tons of guys. Now I'm blanking. Paul Pelletier, to mention him. Yeah. Brandon Peterson was there doing great stuff.
Wow,
that's right. I always loved his line. He's another guy kind of like Craig Russell or Austin. Like he just had so much control over that technical line.
Austin's the good comparison there with him.
Yeah. Brandon's a huge talent. Huge talent. Greg Land was there doing I can't remember the name of his book. Who else was there? Scott Eaton was there. Yeah, he's a great artist and a really great guy.
A young Jay Lyston was inking there, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, Jay was there. Jay is awesome.
Yeah, good dude.
Mike Perkins was there. He's amazing. Yeah.
My lovely wife brought me a beer.
Oh,
Oh,
That is lovely.
Oh, Prost.
Oh, good beer.
Hey, Jeff, this is the first time in my life I kicked somebody's ass in speed. Ever.
Yeah.
Fucking ever.
we had Walden Wong on last week. He finished like 8 drawings.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm
And I got
long way away.
Wolverine's nose done.
Yeah, I'm a ways away.
Yeah,
Jeff, you
Walden-
have an absolutely storied career, sir. It's amazing.
I have been super lucky. I've bounced around to some super cool stuff.
Well, you're
Yeah,
really good.
well-
I mean, you've really got flawless construction. Your storytelling is great, and it's just pretty to look at. It's very elegant. You've got a very elegant style.
It's the best
thanks,
way
man.
to describe it. And one thing I like about your form is I always use music, as I think JC does too, to describe it. As I guess that's why we can play jazz together, because I can follow the structure of what you're doing so well. All I'm doing then is executing, line and brushstroke. It's very peaceful, man. It's like longboarding.
But
Oh,
I like,
thanks, dude.
I compared you earlier to Kane, but that's almost sort of an unfair comparison because you have the ability, you do stuff that Kane didn't do. Like you like to stretch things out and augment things in a way that's really like you did that Twitter picture of the Hulk a couple of weeks ago.
I got to ink that recent Hulk. Damn it!
That
I
was,
got work to do,
that was
Jeff.
fun.
Quit drawing cool shit.
yeah. I mean, I was just admiring that. Like nobody's ever drawn the Hulk that way. But I mean,
We
everything.
got to do a Hulk series, dude.
Yeah.
I have to say
gotta.
that's definitely the benefit of animation.
Right.
I remember I was doing I had a friend named Brian Monopoly. He used to be a cleanup artist at Disney, and right now he does Paradise PD. He's a storyboard artist and a director. He worked on American Dad forever. Just a great artist, great storyteller. And when he was doing, he did. See if I can show it here while I'm thinking of it. We were friends while we were both working on Spider-Man, and we were storyboard cleanup artist and character assistant stuff on Spider-Man. We bounced around while working on Spectacular back in the day. And he had done a ton of animation. And so his focus was on making sure that lines were smooth and had life when you're cleaning up a drawing. So he introduced me to basically Disney animation's character design. And one of the things that you want to really concentrate on when you're designing a character to move, and I was designing the Rhino at the time. I was trying to come up with a cool shape for the Rhino. And my original shape was basically your classic, Rhino character, a regular guy with
Regular Rhino.
Yeah, just a classic.
He's fun. It's just a big asshole with a horn on his head, right? Wearing his pajamas.
Pretty much.
Or like a snowsuit.
I like that too.
Right. So my original design for the Rhino kind of looked like any comic book design of a guy with a horn on his head, like just a guy standing there, regular proportions. And then my friend Brian looked at my drawing and went, well, that's kind of boring and kind of hard to draw. And so what he did is he went over my drawing with a China marker and he took, I'll use this.
Don't say that in front of Steranko, please.
Oh, yeah, right.
Steranko.
Hey now. Hey now.
Since my drawing had this kind of action, that was that's so many lines. That's just so many places that someone can get it wrong. And he took a big China marker and he just like, why not just have his shoulders do that?
Yeah.
Just turn it into an arch. Like
Just
reduce the shape to an arch.
Just make it one big line there and then drop his arms down like that. And then have his horn, have a big sweep like that. And then just have and then just do that.
Yeah.
Like make it simple. And then that shape became what I drew, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
Just those simple, just the simple concepts of simplifying the drawing and putting straights against curves and thinking about how the line itself has to have motion. And just that 5-minute thing is like, oh, why not do it this way? Changed the way I did character design.
Like opened a window in your brain.
It did. It completely opened up my mind to like, oh, I don't have to be stuck doing a buff guy, right? And so then after that, I could do, because I could never draw the Hulk before. He was just a Schwarzenegger sized guy, and that's not interesting, right?
You draw the best Hulk now, dude. I want to ink the Hulk with you. The Hulk could be eating a salad, tying his shoes. I love
what you do with the face and with the jaw.
Oh, thanks, man.
The jaw's different. You pull your jaw up high like it's naturally, and then you elongate a face so differently than me, where I box my shit up so tight.
Mm.
You have this like nice, even like from your jaw to your chin, it stretches. It's really, really fun, man.
Oh, thanks, dude. You know who draws the best Hulk that I would love to understand how he does it? He does the amazing character design stuff is Alan Davis.
Just talk about elegant, right?
Yeah. He's always the guy that I would love to climb into his head and see how he does things.
Yeah, I can see that. Not climbing into his head.
I was telling Zach, I think the other day, that Alan Davis was originally supposed to draw Promethea for Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Ooh,
how insane would that have been?
That would have been gorgeous.
Not that it isn't designed gorgeous anyways. It's just amazing book. But
yeah, J.H. Williams was perfect, but Alan Davis, I mean, it's just kind of, although he did work with Moore on Captain Britain at one point earlier in their career. So
like
he does
2000 AD time, right? Like way back.
And they were really good. I read them as a kid. I haven't read them since, but I remember them being very good.
Oh, those old Captain Britons are amazing. They're so much fun.
And Alan Davis was sort of still kind of young and rough, so it didn't have the sheen that his stuff had later.
Was Neary inking him then?
Probably.
Yeah.
If he wasn't inking himself.
I don't know if Neary was inking that stuff, but Neary on him. That's a great team.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Talk about jazz.
Yeah. I mean, I like Farmer, but it has sort of a plastic kind of a aesthetic to it.
There's definitely a slightly more mechanical sharpness to the Farmer
stuff. There's no grit. It's like almost too perfect when Mark Farmer, I think, inks Alan Davis. They're both too elegant. They create an elegant bomb. It's too perfect.
Yeah, those guys together are super smooth.
Yeah. And I'm not taking anything away from Mark Farmer's as good as it gets, right?
Oh yeah, Farmer's awesome too. Farmer's a beast.
Truly beautiful brush line.
He recently inked Neil Adams on Fantastic Four.
Oh wow! Whoa. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, Wade wrote a story, and Neil Adams drew it, and for some reason they hired an inker. You know, they did that the last time Neil did it like an Avengers issue, and they brought Palmer back.
Mm.
And those guys aren't compatible anymore. I mean,
too long.
Well, Palmer is taking on sort of a thicker line and doesn't really do all of the
scritchy hatching and stuff.
Yes, he stopped doing that a long time ago. And Neil has changed too. So they've kind of grown in different directions. So that when you put Palmer on Adams now, it doesn't work anymore.
Right. It's interesting. It's just like musicians. 20 years later, they could have been in a band together making the greatest music ever. Yeah. You put them together now, and it could just be clunky turds.
It's weird. It's like,
Jeff, what pen are you using there?
This is an old. I don't know if they make these anymore. It's it's a Pentel Fountain Pen. Oops, let me try this.
It's a fountain pen.
It says it's fountain, but it's basically just got a little nib on it.
Okay. I've never seen one of those, man.
That's what Neil Adams used to draw with. Speaking of Neil,
yeah, I don't think they make them anymore. I think Neil bought up the last of them.
he That's what I do anytime Amazon gets some Rapidographs. I'm the asshole that buys like 16 of them. So if you can't find them, you can find me at a show.
It's got some good bounce to it. It's like a fun little, like every once in a while, if I'm using a micron, I'll get a little too tight, or if I don't have the control of a brush, I'll just throw that guy in there.
Interesting. I'm a zebra guy personally.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that page that Scott Williams inked of John Byrne's fan comic, X-Men fan comic?
No, is it awesome?
Oh, dude, it's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody's heads exploded.
Yeah, well, Scott still got it.
He does, and it's like, Byrne's getting a little bit wonky. I mean, he must be 70, right?
Oh yeah, he's got to be up there.
Late 70s, I think now, right?
Got to be, mid.
We'll have to, when we have Ryle on the show, we'll ask him.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't mean to say, I mean, he's still drawing beautiful comic books, but he's not in his prime anymore. But Scott Williams just absolutely nailed it. I mean, but I was, talking about the artists sort of diverging. That was one thing that Byrne mentioned on his forum. He said, everybody keeps asking me to have Austin ink this stuff. He says, our styles diverged 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we just are, they're not really harmonious anymore. I mean, even Byrne admits that.
Yeah, I definitely think that what Byrne's doing is not, I don't even know. I think Terry, if he still draws or retired, I'm not even sure.
He was drawing like Sonic the Hedgehog forever.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was inking Sonic the Hedgehog. But he kept all of his his X-Men artwork.
So he's sitting on a gold mine, right?
And he refuses even to give it to Dubner for his collections, the artist editions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he won't give it out.
Does he just not feel like it's safe out of his possession, or is he just?
I'm not sure what the rationale has been explained somewhere, but I can't remember off the top of my head why.
Interesting.
But he's got a ton of John Byrne, Terry Austin X-Men pages.
Wow.
And he's got his share of X-Men Teen Titans.
Oh yeah.
Which is basically gold.
I got to visit Terry at his house once, way back in the day when I was in New York, and he has an amazing art collection. He has some original Al Williamson's Agent X9s.
Whoa!
That's
one of my favorites, man.
Oh yeah,
Al in his prime.
God, they're gorgeous, dude. They were so gorgeous.
He one of my favorite things Al does that no one ever talks about is how he did like cars and vehicles. He'd do like little chase scenes and stuff that it'd be just like some like collector car and just going down like an Italian vista or something. It was just amazing. Another. Well, he was Alex Raymond acolyte, if I remember correctly. So that's why he has that crazy draftsmanship.
Oh yeah. His line is gorgeous. I don't have many of the artist edition books, the big ones, but I do have an Al Williamson Star Wars one.
Yeah.
That is
he had a whole murderer's row of assistants at that time. It was like Rick Veitch rather, and Tom Yates, and a lot of the Kubert guys were doing stuff, doing backgrounds and ghosts.
Wow.
On those issues, I think even Dave Stevens inked a page or two.
It's interesting when you hear a Dave Stevens pop up.
Yeah, Stevens appears on a few pages.
No one talks about how great Tom Yates used to be.
He's still good.
Yeah, I mean, his Tarzan stuff was ridiculous.
Yeah, but bananas. He's a super talent, and he did Swamp Thing. People forget he was part of that. He was part of the crew. He did that before Bissett, I think. He did the preceding issue, which was written by Moore, and did a lot of those covers in that era.
Well, dude, you are really good at comics.
Not as good as Liefeld. I'm in a group with a Facebook group with Liefeld or Liefeld, however you pronounce it, That dude knows his shit.
It's true. He does. He's very knowledgeable.
I mean, I thought that I could win at Comic Book Jeopardy against anybody. And then I was in a group with Liefeld. I'm like, God, I think he could beat me.
Wow. It's just, he just has all the knowledge.
He really does. I mean, he is really a talent. I mean, I would do it for charity, you know?
That would be, I was doing, there was a game called Sketch Fighter that my friend Tom Frank created, which was basically Pictionary with a comic book artist and stand-up comedians. We would sometimes do it at comic book conventions.
Yeah.
And I was terrible.
Yeah.
I was legitimately terrible. I did not know. I am not a great nerd. I do not know I don't know the numbers. I don't know all the characters. I can't. My memory of comics is very specific. When I got into animation, I had to kind of stop reading comics because the storytelling that you use in comics is just different enough than the storytelling you use in animation and storyboards.
It pollute you too much.
That's the difference between Geis and Paul Smith.
Yeah,
that's it. That was the difference.
So I had to stop. I had to stop looking at comics for about a decade. While I was so I was looking at a lot of like anime and other animation and stuff. And so there's huge gaps in my knowledge.
I basically missed the whole Image thing. I don't think I had a single Image comic growing up.
You were just a little too old,
man.
I was a little too old. I had the one where I think Jim Lee inked a Silvestri story that I thought was pretty cool. I was like, oh, I'll buy that. And then then Barry Windsor Smith showed up and did a crossover, so I had to buy that.
Right.
And then he bought all the Blood Wolf pages, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah,
all those, right?
That goes with
museum glass.
Yeah, in fact I identify as Blood Wolf.
Yeah, like stink on poop.
Blood Wolf is my gender is Blood Wolf.
I did a Blood Wolf special.
Get out! Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, Supreme and Blood Wolf.
That's right. Oh, I forgot you touched the face of God. You worked with Alan Moore. I forgot. Okay.
Oh no!
Yeah, you did some Wildcats too, right, Jeff, or something
I did a cover of Wildcats. No, actually, that wasn't Alan Moore. That was Keith Giffen.
He's pretty damn good too.
Fun. Yeah. How was that script?
Oh, it was great. Keith's amazing. He's a ton of fun to work with. We were Keith and I did Legend of Supreme, and then Dan inked it, and it's great stuff. It's Dan's old Liefeld inks. It's amazing work. His Image stuff was awesome. It was particularly good on this Legend of Supreme stuff.
I gotta see it, man.
But yeah, Keith and I were supposed to do a Magnus Robot Fighter relaunch for Valiant before they went under.
Yeah,
that would have been cool, dude. You on Robot Fighter with that anatomy you have?
Oh, it was definitely a dream book that just didn't quite happen.
Oh,
yeah,
that would have been a good dream book. You and I doing the Hulk.
Oh yeah, it'll happen.
Turn it into change the colors. It's Solomon Grundy. Go to DC. You're done.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Well, we're gonna show what we can do on something else. Curled or toes.
Yeah,
so, I am so feeling awkward for having finished my work. What the hell is that? What time are we, JC?
We're at the 2 hour. We're at 2 hours.
So we should be probably sorry, Jeff.
No. I should probably get going pretty soon. My wife is back. And so we have to do our nightly yoga dog walking stuff.
Outstanding. Do you need more CBDs?
No, we're okay at the moment. All right.
Cool.
I heard you say yoga dog, and I did not think walking was going to be the next word. But anyways.
Good job, JC. Hey, JC, everyone. Yeah, don't sleep on JC's knowledge. He'll make you look dumb. Right? And Jeff, holy shit, thank you for coming, man.
Oh, that was good times. Here's probably it's not.
Oh, look at that shoulder, though.
Dude.
Yeah, I
coming
decided
out,
to
man.
go ahead. Yeah, I'm trying to match the great lighting you have in there, and just sort of have fun with it. But it's I have to say, dude, your precision with I know that you talk about like getting a little crazy about it, but it looks awesome. It pays off.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Again, your form is so good. I can as you see, I just put some quick gray tones on it to give me markers for when I ink, or kind of guidelines. And then it's just, again, it's jazz. I feel like I'm fucking Jimi Hendrix playing Dylan when I'm inking you, man. I mean, that's apologies, everyone. That's a bit hoity-toity, but that's what I feel like.
It looks great.
So it's all along the Watchtower, and everybody forgets Dylan wrote the song.
Jeff Johnson, it gets compared to Bob Dylan.
Dylan himself. Ooh,
I can't do any better than that.
I got a blood bubble coming out of my nose. My guitar's on fire.
There you go.
You want to take us out, JC?
Yes, we will see you guys in a week or two. I don't know who our guest will be, but it will be sweet. Jeff Johnson, you are a stud. I've been a fan of you since I was a kid. It's been a privilege having you here, and I hope you'll come back.
Hell yeah, JC. Thanks, man.
I'll send you some pictures of Colonel Deering.
Okay, excellent.
I found him on the dark web.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep that to you, just you and me.
Yeah, messenger.
Take it easy.
All right,
Good
guys.
luck, everyone.